Good morning, good morning. I always grab my phone because I want to start my morning off like positive. I don't even want to wake up and think about anything negative. And the crazy part is my family don't even know that I'm putting these videos on YouTube. They have no clue. If they did, they'd probably be like, why are you putting your personal business on YouTube? You shouldn't do that where everybody can see. But it's for my personal progress. It's because I want to look back and I want to see. And maybe somebody going through what I'm going through. So it's my personal business. If I want to put it on YouTube, then I can, you know? But today, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to talk about some issues that I struggle with, some personal issues that I don't talk about with people. And maybe that's why I struggle. Everybody's struggle issue is different because there may be things that, like, I'm going to use this for example. I'm going to say Sue. Sue is no, I'm going to use Bob. Bob is a Caucasian white guy. He gambles. He just gambled $20,000 of his family money in a casino. Now Bob is ready to commit suicide because he only has $10,000 in the bank. He's ready to just put a gun to his mouth. Well, for me, if I gambled that much money and I had $10,000 in the bank, I'm not about to put a gun to my house because my mother said, at least I got $10,000 left. So to me, that wouldn't be worth sticking a gun in my mouth. So that's what I mean when I say people have their different tolerances and levels of trouble that bothers them. Some people have high tolerance. Some people have low tolerance. Me, I never experienced death until maybe like in my 40s, like real death. So to me, that was traumatizing. But you got people that lost all their family lost all their brothers to gunshots. So death is nothing to them. Different tolerance levels are different. So somebody might think what I'm going through, oh, that ain't nothing. Girl, you will be okay. No, because because you had a hard life. You know what I'm saying? It's easy for you to get through these bumps and these ditches and these logs and these it's easy for you to get through this because you've been hurdling and jumping all your life. I just started, so that my tolerance is low. This shit is hard. But I'm gonna tell a story. I think I maybe only told it once or twice, but when I was 27, I used a tampon, and that was my first time using a tampon, and I got toxic shock syndrome from it. Make a long story short, I used it one day. I used it on a Sunday. No, I used it on a Saturday because I went bar hopping, and I wanted to go bar hopping in Dayton, Ohio, because it was somebody's birthday, and we were gonna go celebrate. And I came on my period, and I had white pants, so I asked my sister for one of her tampons, and I used it, and I read the directions. I read everything on the box, and I did just as they said to do. It was a playtext, and I did everything that they said to do. And I don't know. That was my first time. I don't know what went wrong with this situation. I changed. I only used two. Before I went clubbing, I put one on. I guess it felt a little foreign. I didn't like it, but I had on white pants, so I didn't want to have penny print. So in a pad print, so I just used it, and we went bar hopping. And then when we came back from bar hopping, I took it out and put on another one. And the next day when we were driving home, I can't remember if I put on another one. I think I put on a pad. So I only wore two. So when we were driving home, I noticed that I was cramping horribly, horribly, horribly. We were driving back to Michigan, and I was cramping, cramping, cramping. And so by the time that was Sunday, by the time I got home Monday, I felt like I had the flu. I thought I had the flu. Like, oh man, I got the flu. How did I get the flu? It's freaking summertime. So I think I took some Tylenol flus or whatever, and I laid in the bed. That was on Monday. I laid in the bed, and then it just took a dive for the worse. When my mom came home, she caught me crawling on the floor, and she instantly called 911 because, I don't know, I wasn't talking properly, and she said that I said I was going to the bathroom, and I wasn't going to the bathroom. I was crawling towards the laundry room, but I was crawling because I was in so much pain. So I don't really remember much. I'm only telling you the little bits and pieces I can remember and what was told to me. So when I remember EMS coming to get me, and they made me walk up the stairs. I was in so much pain, so much pain. I remember walking up the stairs, and it's kind of hazy. Like, I don't remember. The next thing I remember being in the hospital. I remember being in a room with somebody, and they were like cussing the doctor out. I remember that. And then I remember the doctor telling me, you know how you see the white lights flashing when you're going down the hall and you're laying in the bed and you see the white lights flashing? I remember someone saying, I remember my doctor, I think her name was Ann Spearman, I want to say. She worked with Dr. Roger Kerrigal at DMC, Grace Sinai. I remember her saying, "Sweetie, you have a really bad infection." That's all I remember. That was on Tuesday, June 21st. After that, I went into a coma, where they had to put me into a induced coma because I had so much poison from the tampon that it gave me TSS, which is toxic shock syndrome. So it started shutting down everything. I had a collapsed lung, my kidneys, everything stopped functioning. So they had to put me in an induced coma and give me antibiotics to get the infection. I had cysts on my ovaries. So I had so much poison that in my body that it ruptured the cyst, which the cyst ruptures my ovary. So I had to get my left ovary removed. It was just one bad thing. It was like dominoes. One bad thing after another started happening. And they told my mom, "You better come see your daughter because she's not going to make it through the night." I remember them telling me that. I remember them telling me my heart wouldn't my heart wouldn't stay. They had to keep bringing me back. I remember I had blood transfusions because of the ovary situation. I caught pneumonia. I also caught an infection, a staph infection, of course. I caught a infection in my lungs called streptococcal. It's the same strand that you would get for a strep throat. This is what I remember. I got it in my lungs. So when I did, that was June 21st. So this went from June 21st all the way till I came out my coma, I want to say July 15th or 16th. They took me off a breathing machine, and they wanted to see if I could breathe on my own, because if I couldn't, I would have had to get a trach in my in my throat. So you can only have a breathing machine in for like a couple of weeks. So they took me off, and of course, good thing I started breathing on my own. Bad thing was I had a stroke in the process of them 3 weeks. So when I came out of the coma, I was thinking it was just the next day. And let me tell you this, everybody. For all those who have loved ones who was in comas, we can hear you. I heard so many people praying by my bed. I heard my mom talking to the chaplain, and she was praying with the chaplain. And I wanted to tell her, I can hear you. I can hear you. But I couldn't talk. I could only hear. I couldn't see. I could just hear. So if you have a loved one that's in a coma, I don't know about everybody, but for me, I could hear. To me, it was like one big dream. You know, one day I wake up and I hear somebody talking, and I don't even really think I woke up like where I actually opened my eyes. I just was in a conscious state where I could hear. I was in and out. I could hear, but I was in an induced coma. I definitely was in an induced coma, but I could hear. I remember a lady from church playing music. I remember hearing my mom. I think it was those only two people I remember. I remember hearing nurses talking, having personal conversations, but I could never see them. I could only hear them. So every day my mom would come to the hospital and she would take care of me. Eventually, when they took me off of the breathing tube, you know, they started weaning me like off all those drugs that I were on. And that was horrible because it was like, that was the worst withdrawals ever. I don't know what drugs they had me on. I know I was on a feeding tube for 3 weeks, so I had lost a lot of weight. But whatever they had me on coming off, it was horrible. It was so horrible. So I remember my mom coming up there every day, taking care of me. And whenever she would leave, I would cry like a baby because I didn't want her to leave. In the process, one day, I was laying in the bed. I can remember this. And this nurse came and she said, some ice in front of me. And I was like, ice? I mean, just imagine not tasting nothing for like 3 weeks or however long I was in a coma. I was like, ice? You know, like, I was like, I'm about to eat this ice because I just wanted to, I don't know. I just wanted to eat ice. And I remember looking at the cup that was sitting in front of me. And I remember trying to grab it. Like my brain was saying, grab the cup, pick it up, eat the ice. But my body was doing something totally different. This side right here, as you can see, I couldn't even do this. As you can see, this is the extent of my hand. These fingers at the end don't work because of the stroke. But I remember, well, if I put my hand up, you can't really tell, but I remember trying to grab for the ice and I couldn't. My head said grab it. My head said pick up the ice, but my body was doing something completely different. And that's when I think it kicked in, like something is wrong. Why can't I pick up the ice? And I went to grab the ice and I knocked it over. And I said, I went to talk, but I couldn't even talk that great because my lungs had collapsed and I had an infection in my lungs and I had pneumonia. So like all this phlegm, I was coughing really, really bad. And I just remember thinking something is wrong. And then I went to try to move my feet and I couldn't move my feet. And I was wondering like, what's wrong with me? You know, I woke up, I couldn't talk, I couldn't move, I couldn't pick up nothing. So a nurse came in and she said, sweetie, I don't even think she said sweetie. She said, Miss Keaton, you had a stroke. And I can't remember. I remember her telling me I had a stroke. And I was like, that's why I can't do anything. And then my mom came up there and my mom helped me. And I think I cried because I kept doing this. In my head, I was thinking that I could write her and tell her what was wrong and what I was trying to get out. But I couldn't even. Someone gave me a pencil and a paper. It was scribble scrabble. I couldn't even write what I was trying to say. I went back and looked at it later. And it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all, but I laughed. Like, I thought I was really writing something down. I really thought that I was writing my problems down. Like, I really thought that I was trying to tell them what was wrong. It was scribble scrabble. And I was like, oh my God. Like, it was crazy. So, I was in the hospital for 3 months. I had to learn how to do everything over again. I had to learn how to walk. I had to learn how to talk. And on top of that, I had a 3-year-old or 4-year-old that I couldn't even see because of the floor that I was on. Hadn't seen my child in months. That was like the worst thing you could go through. One day you're alive and you're healthy and you're going bar hopping and you're celebrating with friends, and then next thing you know, 3 months, 2 months, a month later, you can't even get up and walk. You got blood clots in your leg. You got an infection where you got these weird bumps popping up on your skin looking like mushrooms filled with fluid. You're wondering every time you talk, you cough enough mucus. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. But guess what? I got through it. I got through it. And here I am today. And just for your information, here's a little information for people that don't know. If you ever run across this video, them Tampax, whatever they are, you can't sue them. It tells you on the box you can die. But you can't sue them because you're using them at your own risk. If they tell you you can die and you still use them, that's your dumbass fault. That's what I learned out of that situation. Like, wow. These things actually have poison in them. And when you put it in your body, it's one out of so many millions or thousands of people that could catch TSS. But I was that one. Anyway, I had to go to rehabilitation and learn how to do everything over again. The most simplest things we take for granted. Like, I had to take these pegs and I had to stick them into the hole. I learned how to do everything with my left hand because my right hand was completely non-workable. So I learned to become a lefty. So I would use my left hand for everything because my right hand was useless. I had to learn how to take 3 steps. I was on oxygen because my lungs was messed up. I had to learn how to take 3 steps. That was so hard. I had to learn how to go up 1 step before I could get discharged from the hospital. 1 step. And I swear to God, that was like I was pulling a ton of bricks. It was so hard. I had to use a walker, of course. Not for the steps, though. But I had to use a walker to learn how to re-walk again. I had to blow bubbles in a cup that exercised my lungs to help me talk because I was on oxygen. They said I would be on oxygen for the rest of my life, but as you can see, I'm not on oxygen. But I do have a long history of lung issues. When I was in the hospital, I was getting breathing treatments every day on prednisone and antibiotics because my lungs only work at 60% now. Rather, like most people's lungs work at 100. My lungs were really damaged through that situation. So that was what one psychiatrist told me, that I was suffering from PTS. And that's why I was having so many other issues that came along, like anxiety, social anxiety, not want to be around people, not want to drive, not want to do certain things, not want to go certain places. Like, it was bad. So that happened it happened in 2003. So we're going to move it forward to 2008. 2008, my mom retired and she moved next door to me in my townhouse. And I love my mom living next door to me. It was great. Like, I had a babysitter, you know, I could go, my mom right next door, tell my baby, go to Nana house. Like, it was great. But then somewhere right after my mom retired, she started doing weird things. Like, she started hiding silverware and just really weird things that my mom wouldn't do. So me and my sister decided to take her to the doctor, and they ended up telling us that my mom had dementia, and they put her on some medicine called Aricept. But it happened so quick. It happened really, really quick. Like, I can't even describe how quick it happened, but it happened really, really quick. But we end up getting her on Aricept, and to me it seemed like the Aricept just kind of like froze it where it was at, you know. So speeding on up, that was in 2008. It didn't, I'm not gonna say it got bad. It got bad. It got real bad, you know. And I was in a relationship, and I was struggling with my relationship, and I was struggling with the fact that my mom had dementia. And somewhere my mom's dementia turned into Alzheimer's because her symptoms got worse. And every day I was faced with, my mom is going to pass because there's no cure for this. And I watched my mom slowly turn into a baby. But my goal was, I'm not putting my mom in the hospital, so they can forget about that. My life was to take care of my mom. That was my life goal. I didn't need a boyfriend. I didn't need anything. I just needed to take care of my mom because she took care of me. And that was my goal. I had different help from different organizations. One of the organizations is the Information Center. If anyone ever sees this, the Information Center was great. They helped me with a lot of stuff. They helped me with a pill box, which issued her medication. It made like a loud alarm sound when it was time for her to take it, so she knew, and it will release the medication. Because at first she was taking it, but she was taking all of it because she had Alzheimer's. So after that, the Information Center helped me out a lot. Then it got to the point where she started wandering, so I had to find someone to stay with her 24/7, to stay in the house to make sure that she didn't wander. So I found that support, and that was great. And for me, it was my sister's dad who stayed in the house with her to make sure that she never left. And I took her to her doctor's appointments. I did everything. I paid her bills. I washed her up because she got to a point where she forgot how to wash up, and I'll have to be like, okay, mommy, come on, we gotta go upstairs, you gotta wash up now. I washed her. I took her when she would get paid. I would always take her to like her favorite places, churches or Popeyes. That was her favorite places. She loved chicken. And I can remember, I want to say maybe it was the last time I took her to Popeyes. And I was sitting at the table with her, and you know how Popeyes always play the old school music. And I took her there, and I remember staring at her, and I remember asking God, how much time do I have with her? When is he gonna take her? Because I knew it was coming. And you gotta prepare it's just like people with cancer. You gotta prepare your mind, because you know it's not no coming back from Alzheimer's. They're not going to have a cure. So the only thing you can do is prepare yourself. So I remember sitting there with her. I think it was last time. And she was eating her chicken, and she was so happy. And she said, thanks. She called me niece. She said, thanks, niece. Thank you, niece, for all that you do. Thank you so much. She was like, this chicken is so delicious. And she was enjoying her chicken, and I was sitting there crying inside because I was just thinking, like, how much longer. And I don't remember how much longer it was after that. I just know, like, the first sign of something that was starting to happen was my mom was a diabetic, and her sugar started, like, just getting really out of control, like jumping up to 600. And she was still coherent. She was still coherent, but she was losing it. Cause some days I would come in the house and she would be ranting and raving, about something, and I didn't know what she was talking about. At first I used to try to explain, but somebody said, just let her, just agree with her. Don't argue with her, just agree with her. And so I started agreeing with her, and it made it a little easy. But I'm going to tell you something in the process of this that I never could understand. In the process, one of my relationships got ruined because it just became too much. Like, I couldn't deal with him and nagging. So, that relationship ended. And in the midst, I was trying to, like, I was being a caretaker, but I was also, oh, my back is killing me. I was also trying to have a life because I didn't have a life, so I met a guy, and he was taking care of his mom also, so he could identify and understand what I was going through, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, oh, this is great, like, I met somebody that's doing the same thing I'm doing, like, oh wow, this is really great. And he became my friend. I would talk to him because he could understand being a caretaker. He could understand. And we was only talking for like 10 months. And in the 10 months, I got pregnant. I didn't think that I could get pregnant because when they removed my ovary, I only had one tube at the time when they removed my ovary. So I'm like, only got one tube, one ovary. They told me I couldn't have kids anymore. So I'm like, oh wow, that was devastating. I only had one son. So I already accepted the fact that I was never gonna have any more kids, So when I got pregnant, it was bad timing, It was bad timing. Like, I was taking care of my mom. That wasn't really what I wanted. So the option was to, I know people might think bad to get an abortion because I'm right in the midst of taking care of my mom. I can't take care of a baby too. That would have been like extremely hard. But you have your plans and God have his plans. And no matter what plan I made, no matter what decisions I had in my head, what I was going to do, when life want to come through this world, it's going to come. And it ain't nothing you can do about it. Every attempt I made to try to get that abortion never happened. I didn't want to be with the person. I didn't want to have a baby with the person that I got pregnant by. I didn't want to have a baby. I was taking care of my mom. But what I didn't know is, I went through my pregnancy alone because they didn't want a kid either. But for some reason, that abortion just never could happen. No matter, we couldn't agree upon a place. We couldn't agree upon the price. I already knew. I was like, I'm about to be stuck with a baby at this horrible time. So I ended up doing my pregnancy by myself and taking care of my mom. I took care of my mom while I was pregnant. Still taking care of her household. Still taking her to the doctors. Still doing her shopping, and I'm pregnant by myself. So I gave birth alone. I remember it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I started having contraction pains, and I think 5 o'clock I got up to go use the bathroom and my water broke, and I was by myself. So I had to hop in my car,